The Samsung Jet 90 is clearly modelled on the Dyson V10 onwards, and is competing directly with Dyson's best-in-class machines at a premium cost of £550. That's only £50 less than a V11, which as of recording is the latest Dyson machine. This wasn't gifted to me for free, so this isn't a bribe review. Many claim their sponsored reviews are honest, but they're always riddled with misleading half-truths, as you'll see later. This performance testing shows how well the power the machine consumes is utilised to actually do meaningful cleaning, and the usual representative testing process was followed. This shows the measured rate of dust extraction from a deep piled carpet with waterproof backing, which is the hardest type to clean for the 3 different power modes. As you'd expect, higher power modes perform better. Compared to the Shark cordless, which costs about as much depending on how many batteries you buy, performs much worse in normal mode. Its boost mode is on par with the Jet 90's normal mode, showing how much better the Jet 90 is designed. However, the Jet 90's performance is nowhere near as good as the V11, in stark contrast to the vague subjective eyeballing found in other reviews of this machine. This performance is also in contrast to marketing brags about motor power and suction, which on paper match the V11. The estimated power consumption in these modes is shown, showing that marketing are misleading to brag about big powers and suction levels when they don't directly translate to actual cleaning performance, which is more important. The power consumed has to be utilised well with good cleaner head design, otherwise it isn't used to actually clean and is wasted. This is the full truth that's very hard to find elsewhere. On hard floors, the cleaner head struggles to pick up larger particles, but removes fine dust well due to copying the felt strip design found on the Dyson Lightball. The head design isn't as advanced as found on the modern Dyson models, which can tackle all reasonable particle sizes on all floor types, and so makes the cleaning job much harder. It also doesn't have side suction channels to draw in particles outside the head. There's a large gap at the edge, which leaves more behind, because they've used an old-fashioned design which needs space for the motor drive, rather than Dyson's epicyclic drive approach, which embeds the motor within the brush bar. The bristles are very soft and likely separate pile less effectively, which may account for some of its reduced performance. The brush bar is also not as wide, which also helps with this, and will also thus be more susceptible to hair wrapping, which the V11 avoids more than many others. On the plus side, the head doesn't come with LED lights, the pointlessness of which I've covered in detail in the Shark cordless review. Like many cordless vacuums, with the exception of the Dyson machines, the head doesn't feel like it grips to the carpet well or is as powerful as a mains cleaner. This machine does groom the carpet, but doesn't lift and mechanically separate pile as much, leaving it much flatter, and is likely partly why it doesn't clean as well. This machine attempts to copy Dyson's cyclonic filtration, and uses a seal HEPA filter, like all good machines. I tried to test the efficiency of the copycat cyclones by measuring how much dust escapes to the filter after sucking up a known amount of fine flour. But surprisingly, they clogged up, even on max mode when they worked the best. After that, the filter quickly clogged and suction dropped off. The Dyson V11 cyclones don't clog during the same test, showing how inefficient copycat cyclones are compared to Dyson's. While this was an accelerated use test which picks up more fine dust than in normal cleaning, it's hard to say whether they'd still clog under normal use. But they shouldn't clog at all. Maybe this cyclonic failure is why they make it so easy to wash them out yourself. It just goes to show how cloning Dyson's patented technology doesn't mean it will work as well. Poorer cyclones mean you'll need to rinse the filters much more often to avoid suction loss. The HEPA filter is also not supposed to be rinsed at all, according to the manual. To empty the bin, you've got to physically remove the entire cup and tip it out into the bin. It's harder to get deeper into the bin emptying this way, and so increases the chance of splashing back a dust cloud. The shroud also has to be manually cleaned when it gets clogged, meaning more contact with dust. Marketing promote the allergy seal of approval, but this is misleading because it only reflects that dust doesn't escape the unit while operating, like all decent units, and says nothing about emptying. The better approach the Dyson machines use, empty the bin without any mess and automatically clean the shroud in a single costless action that takes just 5 seconds. Again, this is patented, and so others are left copycatting a less effective solution. Samsung offer a companion machine called a clean station to assist with emptying the vacuum bin. Rather than just tip into the bin, you can spend £200 on top of the £550 you've already spent to have another machine empty it for you. It's like a vacuum cleaner for your vacuum cleaner. Except it sucks the contents into a 2-litre vacuum bag, instantly undermining all the advantages of using a bagless machine. And now you've got running costs, buying replacement bags, and all the environmental impact that brings. And all the filters in this extra machine will need maintaining as well, doubling your workload. Some videos show it even leaves dust in the bin, which can spill everywhere when you take it out anyway. This is madness, and the worst of both bagless and bagged worlds at the same time. The paid reviews of this machine only give you a half-truth. They'll tell you it works, but avoid discussing the wonky premise, cost, and impracticalities that make it a costly step backwards. A half-truth is worse than a lie, because most lies aren't credible. The cyclone assembly is easy to remove and rinse. Hygiene and avoiding odours are a genuine concern to people, and Dyson would benefit from a simpler modular design which allows easy rinsing of the air paths that can collect material which can retain bad odours, should people suffer from that problem. This machine weighs 2.8 kilograms and is slightly lighter than the V11's 3 kilograms, and they feel about the same weight in use. But this machine only uses a 62 watt-hour battery, whereas the V11 uses an almost 50% larger 91 watt-hour battery. Why is this? Well, to get the motor powers to compete with Dyson, Samsung had to use a much larger and heavier motor, which lacks the power density and efficiency of Dyson's very advanced motors. They've then had to compromise on battery size to stop it getting too heavy. But that smaller battery means, in normal mode, just under 20% reduced power and 5 minutes shorter runtime relative to the V11's normal mode, based on advertised runtimes and estimated power drain in each mode, partially explaining its reduced performance. Only the biggest and best numbers get marketed, rather than what you generally use, and these compromises that are the hallmark of not getting things right are kept hidden from the customer. The V11, in contrast, has none of these compromises, and you get high power and the best cleaning performance, low weight, and longer running times all at once, unlike any other premium product. It's not biased to point this out after a fact check, or to expose half-truths found elsewhere. It's giving the full truth. Dyson products are, objectively, the best in class. The battery only has a vague 3-light charge indicator, and doesn't inform the user as well about how much runtime they have left. It uses removable batteries, but additional batteries cost an eye-watering £150, which is almost twice the cost of Dyson's even higher capacity additional batteries. More than one battery also means more battery management hassle for the user, so best to avoid where possible, although you can charge 2 at once with the dock, which I'll talk more about later. The Jet 90 uses an on-off switch, encouraging users to keep the machine on all the time, even when they're not using it, whilst moving to a new location or moving something out of the way. This wastes valuable battery life, and Dyson have shown that by learning to use an effortless feather touch trigger, which activates just by holding it to avoid any kind of tiredness, you can achieve up to 30% more cleaning time out of the battery charge during the cleaning session. The Samsung Jet's digital motor starts reasonably fast enough to allow this as well, so it's even more of a pity they don't take advantage of smarter design. They market that the battery will retain 70% of its original maximum capacity after 5 years. This is in contrast to Dyson, who, with the same core lithium-ion battery technology, managed to achieve retaining 80% of its original maximum runtime after 15 years. This substantial improvement to battery service life by Dyson is achieved by much more intelligent battery charge and discharge management, which minimises cell degradation. This is a moderately noisy machine, on par with the Shark cordless, but is much quieter than the Loop. It's not as quiet as the V11 though, which stands out more when you remember the V11 is more powerful in normal mode. The benefits of the cordless stickback form factor that Dyson pioneered are nicely present here on the Samsung machine. The machine manoeuvres extremely well and better than other products, and almost as well as the V11. The head relies on a small wheel to act as a single point of contact for turning and retain its nimbleness, which allows it to navigate tight corners. But because of this, it does tend to slide a bit when making tighter turns on carpet, and feel harder relative to Dyson's patented ball design. Other copycats typically use 2 fixed wheels, which impairs tight turning or cause other problems like wobbling. The head is also slender like the V11 and so can fit into tight spaces. It comes with all the common tools, most of which copy the dual function ideas Dyson pioneered, and is fully modular. Unfortunately, there's no way to store these tools on board the machine, unlike the V11, meaning more hassle if you need to switch during a cleaning session. It comes with a motorised pet tool that runs quietly, but it's much larger than the Dyson's, yet has a much narrower cleaning path and huge unswept regions at the side. They have nicely copied the articulating sole plate design from Dyson, which is intended to maintain contact with curved surfaces in use. But it doesn't have as wide a pivot range, and the design of the pivot location means when you pull back, it always lifts off the surface you're trying to clean, which is surprisingly poor. It feels comparably light on the arm as the V11, and the bin placement is much better than found on the Sharp model I've also reviewed, whose low-hanging bin kept getting in the way. It's much easier to do stirs with the good cordless stick vac, as Dyson pioneered, but unfortunately this is let down by the same head lifting problem on pullback. It doesn't groom carpet pile as well, possibly due to the lack of bristles which have been substituted for rubber fins like the Sharp cordless. The head just doesn't grip to the surface and feels very weak. The motorised head is one of the more apparent letdowns on this machine. The unit comes with an extendable wand. At first glance, you might think from marketing that this is useful and offers more flexibility. They tout this as a way to avoid crouching, but what they don't tell you is that when the wand is fully extended, it's the same length as the V11. So you'd only need to crouch if you didn't fully extend the wand every time. Worse, you're forced to always retract the wand before you can fit it back into the floor dock charger, making the machine more hassle to use. So they force the user into extra unnecessary actions by making it shorter with the extendable wand, then market the cause of that problem as a solution, claiming that you can extend it to avoid crouching. This is classic marketing and spinning a problem of their own making into a positive highlight. This is why careful reviewing is important, so you're not fooled, and to my knowledge, no one else seems to have pointed this out. The extendable wand is completely unnecessary. Rather than being able to mount this unit on the wall and charging out of the way, marketing promote the floor dock as a virtue over drilling holes to wall mount a hanging charging dock. But ironically, marketing don't mention the product instructions, which advise that the floor stand be secured to a wall by drilling holes and screwing in, just as you would if you were setting up a wall dock. That's contradictory and self-undermining. Wall mounting is very simple to do, only needs to be done once, frees up so much floor space, and avoids the clutter of a floor dock. By using a floor dock, they risk it being knocked over and toppling, given the heavy battery weight is at the top. This is why they force the user to retract the wand and therefore reduce the height of the stand. They also make the base really heavy, and it's even heavier than the entire vacuum, battery included, adding to materials consumed and environmental impact. It's one big ironic contradiction that they could have simply had a wall mount with a floor dock as an optional extra for the few that might want it. This is in fact what Dyson do. It has a 2-year warranty, which seems to be standard on all cordless machines, and is presumably driven by the third-party core battery technology. This machine can be trialled for 28 days with free no-quibble returns. Much like Dyson's 35-day equivalent money-back guarantee, this is always attractive to a potential customer who might want to try before they buy, given the premium price tag. Overall, this machine is one of the better cordless Dyson clones, but as a competitor to Dyson and costing almost as much, it simply doesn't match it in many areas. Samsung are generally playing tech catch-up and not pioneering or advancing. They seem to prefer to let their betters do the expensive hard work, researching and developing new technologies, and they swoop in to do the higher grade copycat cloning. Yet, this product is still not what the V10 was 3 years ago and isn't a mains replacement, exactly as they don't advertise. Given this thing costs almost as much as a Dyson, if you're going to spend this much, it's a no-brainer to just go for the latest Dyson and get the far better product. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.